After an okay fall foliage last fall, there's optimism for a really good year as we go into 2023. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci here at Batstow Village with our fall foliage outlook.
So we're here at Batstow Village along the Batstow River, which powers the sawmill that's been here since at least the mid 1800s. I saw the first leaves start to change a couple of weeks ago in mid to late August, and it's going to last all the way through Thanksgiving, depending on weather and wind and rain, possibly into December. So it's quite a process from first change of color to leaf drop.
All right, so Mike, let's talk about the ingredients for the best fall foliage. And a lot of it has to do with the weather. So we were talking about this earlier, between April and August, we want no extreme heat and we want it to be wet. And then from September all the way through, we'll say near peak foliage, you want sunny days and cool nights. And then once the leaves are changing, you just don't want anything blowing off the trees. You don't want the leaves gone. So you want to make sure we're storm free, we're not super windy, we're not super wet. Now, last year, we did have drought in a good portion of the region, especially as we went into late summer, into early fall, and there was some extreme heat. But as we went into September and October, we did have those sunny days, we had those cooler nights. Again, we still have that drought. How did we end up with foliage last year, from what you can remember?
From what I can remember, it was okay, not great. The drought we had over the summer last year did put a lot of stress on trees, so the colors were more muted than they can be, but overall it turned out okay.
So how has the weather been so far this year when it comes to our fall foliage? Well, from April to August, we haven't had much extreme heat. In fact, only 9 days were above or at 90 degrees at Atlantic City International Airport, according to the Iowa Environmental Mesonet, and 13 days 90 plus in Indian Mills and Burlington County, which typically sees more of them. We were drier than average, but not as much as we were last year. We were in drought for a few weeks during the month of June this year, but last year we had drought for months at a time here. Then during the month of September, we were plenty sunny. Cloud cover averaged about 25%, and we've had enough cool nights to help those leaves start to change.
All right, so Mike, moment of truth time. Given what we've had so far and how we're expected to look going into October, what are your thoughts on fall foliage here in South Jersey as we go into October and November?
I think this year we're poised for a pretty good year. It hasn't been crazy hot. We've had decent rain. We're getting the cooler nights already, so I'm expecting to be a pretty good year for fall foliage.
You heard that here. A pretty good year here, even a very good year in South Jersey. We'll certainly take it, especially as the days get a little bit cooler. The sun's not out as long. You need some things to cheer you up, so the fall foliage is certainly there.
The only non-weather factor that I could see really playing a role with this year's fall foliage would be any of those areas that burnt up in some wildfires over the past summer. That does put a lot of stress on trees, so the foliage in those areas is definitely not going to be in comparison with some of the other trees around the state.
And then for people who want to check out the foliage, what's like one or two sites that are the most popular, maybe not even here in Batstow, but throughout South Jersey and the Jersey Shore?
I would say after visiting Batstow, this is a pretty unique place. We've got a lot of different tree species that you can check out and see how different trees turn different colors. It's a really interesting place. One other area, and this is more of a general, but anywhere in the Pine Barrens where you have nice open understory and you can see all of the blueberry and huckleberry start to change those oranges and reds, that's really cool. It's almost like a sea of just blueberry and huckleberry on.
And how about people who want to take a day trip, somewhere in New Jersey to check out fall foliage, somewhere up north? Any spots you would recommend?
A spot that would be really great is High Point State Park. It's a drive for anyone in South Jersey.
Yes, it is.
But you get a nice vantage of a little bit of New York, some of Pennsylvania, most of New Jersey. It's a beautiful spot, a lot of tree species that really hit the mark with their colors changing.
And some good hiking too. I've been there a couple of times, and it's a nice place to hike around and see what's going on. And then also, last question for you. This is a serious question because we debate this sometimes in the newsroom. How do you feel about using the term leaf-peeping? Where do you stand on that?
I'll let it pass.
Okay.
Ecotourism is pretty important in national or natural resources.
Right.
So if that's what they have to use for their terminology, go for it.
But that may not be something you're using.
I'm gonna steer clear of leaf-peeping
Got it.
terminology.
Okay. A big thank you to Mike and the Forest Service for having us out here today. For the Press of Atlantic City, I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci.